We are building our own extension and things always have to get worse before they get better. Luckily for me, today is making a better day because we're going to start by pouring our footings. Well done, that's really good. And then the exciting bit, we're going to start to build a structure. We're going to build up to damp course.
So we know exactly where our walls are going to go.
Or at least we hope we do. And in this episode, it's going to be blood, sweat and tears as we take on a monumental effort to install some really challenging drainage. Our concrete turns up in half hour. I haven't got long and I need to make some preparations before it turns up. Now we're going to have to barrow all this concrete round because we can't get anything through the gate. We need to protect the edge so it doesn't cave in, especially as we've had a bit of rain. Surprise, surprise. This is England. So I'm just going to pop some OSB on here so that the edges of the barrows don't collapse the edge of our foundations. The last thing you want is this lot collapsing when you're in the rush with your concrete. Now we need to set out our levels and work out how high we want this concrete to come up these trenches. And to do that, we need to work out our block work and brickwork up to damp course level, and that will determine how much concrete we need in these trenches. Now if you saw the last episode, if you haven't seen it, link will be in the description, we put these profiles on the wall and we worked out our damp course level with a rotating laser level. So that's what we're going to set up now, and that way we'll know exact heights when that concrete arrives. Now our structural engineer did all the calculations and worked out that we need a minimum of 200 mil of concrete in good granular soil like this. Now we need to build up to that damp course, and we could get up to that level in two different ways. We could fill this with more concrete and use one trench block and then brick up to damp course, or we can use, in our case, two trench blocks and save ourselves some money on the concrete. So what we're going to do is work out how much concrete we're putting in here, and that will tell us exactly when we get to that correct level when that concrete now turns up. And I've worked out if we have two trench blocks, so a trench block on top of our footings, another trench block, and then 3 courses of brick with mortar joints up to damp, that's 675 mil from the bottom of the damp course. So if I go 675 mil from the bottom of that damp course, that lands me somewhere on that stone there. You can see I've already sprayed this with white spray paint, and what we're going to do now is we're going to set our datum point from that, and then we can go around and make some reference marks throughout the trenches. So I'll now take hold of my staff and I'm going to line it up with that mark that I made for the 675 mil below damp. I then line my receiver up so it picks up my rotating laser level. And there you go, we now know that wherever we go throughout these footings, we'll be able to pick up that laser and we'll have the correct heights throughout the footings. For speed and a rough visual reference, I spray line marker at the bottom of my staff, just in time for the arrival of 450 quid's worth of Gen 2 site mix concrete. There we go, fill her up. So all you need for this bit is a load of people to drive wheelbarrows for you, get it in there, get it up to those reference marks, and then we're going to rake it around a little bit, tamp it down, get it as flat as we can, and check those levels to get it perfect. That's it. There again, yeah. Well done, that's really good. It's looking good, it's looking good. Keep them coming, boys. I've had a side collapse, which is not ideal, so now I've got to get in there and get the worst of that out. That's the last thing you want, is a side collapsing when you've got a lorry out the front and a time scale. Once you get up roughly to them reference marks, you can then start to see how low you are. So we're only about 20 mil too low there, so we've got to bring the whole thing up about another 20 mil. Right, so what we've done, got our levels with the staff, and then we tamped it down with the head of the rake. We've got it nice and smooth. There you go, job's a good one, looks perfect, levels are correct, it's nice and smooth. Job's a good one. Now those footings are in, we're going to start building. But I realised you guys haven't actually seen what we're building. So come in a little bit closer and I'll show you what we're about to build. So in episode 1, that'll be linked in the description, you saw us knock down this conservatory. This is what the property looks like from the back at the moment. You've got the 2 upstairs bedrooms, bathroom, lounge with a bay window, the conservatory which is no longer there, and then a utility room and back door. And this is what that looks like from the side. And this is what we're building. This extension at the side will come next year. Right now we're concentrating on this extension at the back. So where the old conservatory was, there'll be a knock through in there and the kitchen will extend into this new extension that we're building, and we're going to remove the bay window and install some sliders in the rear of the property there. We also are going to take the old roof off. At the moment we've got this pitched roof. We're going to take that off and put a lean-to roof on there with a vaulted ceiling and a couple of Velux windows. So that'll look nice and light and open plan all the way through across the back of the property. So by doing this rear extension first, that is gonna open the back of the property up, lighten the kitchen because it's really dark at the moment, and give us a nice open plan living space from our dining room to our kitchen, a much nicer place to entertain and a lighter place as well, and give us a back sliding door for the kids to go out into the garden. So we're really excited about this back extension, and the upstairs extension will come next year. Now part of this extension is a massive kitchen install. We're going to do a really modern, cool kitchen in here, and I'm going to take you guys along as part of this series on that journey as well. So if you're not subscribed by now, you really should be, because there's going to be loads to learn along the way for me and for you. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit like, because then this can reach more people and more people get to see this project. So back outside, let's start building some walls. The first step of this building process is to know where our new drain pipes need to come through so we can mark out for them. We can't have a bend without an inspection chamber, so we've got one there coming off where that toilet stack is in the corner, and then one over there that we can then run into. So it's just one bend. We dummy this up at this stage because our pipe needs to run through our new wall and we need to know where to build round it. And before we start that cement mixer and begin building, you'll see us move all the materials round so we're ready to go. Right, we're now ready to build up to damp. Now, if you saw the first episode, you'll have met Aaron already. And if you use Ultimate Tool Competitions, he's my business partner on there and friend of many years. He also owns a company called County Property Services. So if you're in Norfolk and you need an extension, you can't do it yourself, and you're watching this just for entertainment, give Aaron a call. I'll put County Property Services link in the description. If you don't know it, it's not really worth knowing. So if you need building work, he's your man. Obviously he's got a lot more experience than I have with this, so he is going to show you most of the block laying and brick laying process. I'll do some of it. I will probably labour and show you some of the other bits and bobs, mixing up and all that sort of thing, and Aaron will show you the technical stuff. So should we start?
Let's do it.
Let's go.
So I've just been round and checked Cameron's concrete just to see how consistent it is all the way around. Pretty good, so within a mil or two.
Not
so
bad.
Pretty chuffed with that. So all we're going to do now is we're going to transfer from our lines down to the concrete, so we know exactly where our walls are going to go. All right, so what we're going to do, we're just going to smear a bit of mortar down here, just like that, a little bit that way. So this is just purely so we can transfer our lines down. We'll use a level. Just level that off the line, and then you can just mark down here. Do the same for the other side. So we now know that that is the corner of our building. Just put a mortar bed down. And then we can get our nice big heavy trench box. And all we're aiming to do is lay this corner to our lines, just like that. And then if you just level across the top, like that. So level both ways, that way and that way, just because they're quite a wide block. So we're just going to do that on all 3 corners, and then we'll be able to string a line between them.
So what Aaron's done there is he set out another string line. I don't know why I'm saying this, you should really be presenting this. But he set out another string line, so he now knows he can follow that line. So it's worth, I suppose, pointing out that these trench blocks, they have a tongue on each end, so you don't have to have mortar between the joints.
A tongue and a groove.
A tongue and a groove, so that just makes it a lot easier to work with them. So whilst Aaron's doing that, I'm going to show you how to do a proper mix. I'll pop some water in the mixer first, just to keep that nice and wet, and then we've got some plasticizer. We're going to put 25ml of plasticizer in here, so 1 cap full of plasticizer. Don't use fairy liquid, you're not allowed to use that these days, it's banned in mortar. And we're just going to give this a squeeze, and you can see it's going to fill up 25ml. And we're going to chuck that in with the water there. The plasticizer makes the mortar that Aaron's using nice and fluffy, just makes it more workable. Now we're going for a 3-to-1 mix underground, so it needs to be stronger underground. We'll probably go 6-to-1 above ground. The easiest way to think of it, if you use buckets, we're going to have 3 buckets of sand to 1 bucket of cement. So I'll pop 3 sand in the mixer, and then I've split a half bag of cement. I know what you're thinking, put a mask on, don't breathe that in, and you're right. Once I've finished filming, I'm going to pop a mask on. Don't do what I just did. And then we're going to let that mix for a minute and see what we've got consistency wise before we add the rest of the sand. Add a little bit of water, keep that nice and wet, but don't add too much. You want to let it mix until you see what you've got, so add the water gradually. Now in with the rest of the sand. That half a bag of cement is 2 shovelfuls, but remember, mix this precisely with buckets to get a gauge of how much sand and cement you need to get that 3-to-1 ratio. We'll let this mix, don't be too keen with the water till it's mixed. Hopefully you can see they're starting to clump up nicely, starting to flow now. Now I can start to add a bit more water to get the consistency I want. Into the barrow with it now, and you can see the perfect consistency, not too thick, not too thin. Right, there you go.
Nice, your mix, you lay it. So all we're doing now is we're just building up to our damp height. So we set the laser up from our datum to damp, and then so we're just building this up to damp. So all we've done here is, because we've got drains coming at an angle, we've used a slightly longer lintel than usual just to give us a bit of wiggle room. But yeah, so we're just going to run all this round, this blockwork round now, get us up to damp, and then we'll jump outside and do the brickwork.
So just to be nice and clear for the guys that don't know, this is the inner skin, this block up to damp.
Yep.
Yeah, and then obviously there'll be a brick course, outer skin, 3 courses of brick. Because of how the gauge works out on that lintel, you can see Aaron's used bricks to bring that inner skin up there rather than a block. But yeah, this will be bricks of course, and the inner skin will be block, and you can see Aaron's made a start on the blocks on that inner skin up that corner. So now all we do is keep on building. Aaron's finishing building up that block and brickwork around the lintel, whilst I get some valuable practice in laying that first course of blocks up to damp course. Right, so moving on, time to build the outer skin. So the brickwork, the fun bit.
The fun bit.
Right, Aaron's going to explain to you the setting out.
Right, so all we're going to do is we're going to set out the bond now for the brickwork. The easiest way to do this is start at a corner, or if you are matching, if you're going to have brickwork all the way up and you're matching to an existing building, then you probably want to start where it joins the existing building. But basically all it is, we've got 4 bricks to 890, so any measurement you really need to remember. So what we'll do, we'll stick the first brick on the corner like that. measure 890mm to the next brick. Can you see that?
Yep.
Like that. And then all you're going to do is you'll hook your tape on that brick again, and you'll go to 890 again. If you're not confident doing that, you can buy yourself one of these, and this will do it all for you. So if we hook that on there like that, that tells us that we've got 4 bricks to there, 3 bricks, 2 bricks, 1 brick. That includes our mortar joints. So yeah, just a simpler way to do it if you can't do it by tape measure.
So now we're just going to do it. I'll probably put some music over it so you don't get bored. Hit the music. So that's the brickwork. Last job now, point it up with a pointing iron and a horsehair brush. And we're going to go over the top of this and tidy the whole lot up. Have a handful of leftover mortar as you go, because you can fill in any little gaps with it. So just pop that in there. We can just fill in any little gaps. And now we'll just run in each joint and smooth the whole lot off.
Yeah, not bad for a novice.
Yeah, right, so what he said, not bad for a novice, although I did have many years worth of help on that bit.
Get all this backfilled now.
Yeah.
And then on to drainage.
So we're starting this end, and I might be grateful today of having this cold. I sound like Donald Duck when I speak, but I can't smell anything, and I might be grateful of that. For the next couple of minutes we lose microphone sound, so you're going to get my best attempt at a voiceover, and there you see me bunging the existing soil pipe with a bung so we don't get all this soil down in the run. And then I'm using my new JCB breaker, which was sent to me by JCB, and this thing is an absolute monster. You can see here we're going through 6 inches of concrete, solid concrete, from the edge of that wall there, which is in our way with the digger. So we have to break that out of the way so that we can get the digger in there at the correct angle and get all this soil out to expose the existing pipe. We then used the breaker to demolish some of the existing manhole because we couldn't see with the digger bucket to accurately dig around the existing clay pipe, and we'd have to take some of this out anyway to make room for the new inspection chamber base. We've used a few big breakers on this project already, and this one is up there with the most powerful so far, so I'm going to pop a link in the description. And eventually we managed to expose the existing clay soil pipe that runs out to the road, and we're going to position our new manhole base in the hole and line it up with this 45-degree bend so that we can either run to the next inspection chamber. When you do this, you'll be surprised at the amount of room that you need to get an inspection chamber base in and positioned correctly. So we did have a little bit more demolition to do before we could really start to position, dummy up and eye up for our new pipework and inspection chamber bases. And you can see from this aerial shot that that is what we're doing next, getting the inspection chamber angles correct so they line up with the pipework, and then we'll be able to mark where the inspection chambers and pipework go on the floor so we can dig the trenches accurately with the digger. So, microphones are back on, new equipment, don't use the stuff. So, what we're going to do now, we're going to cut the clay pipe. Now this stuff's quite brittle, it'll fracture easily. If we mess up, we have to keep going back, and we don't want to go back because there's more concrete in the way. So we've only really got one go at this, so chuck me the saw, Aaron. Now, none of this would be possible without power tools. On Ultimate Tool Competitions this week, we've got our biggest power tool raffle yet. We've got a 12-piece DeWalt 18-volt power tool kit with 4 5-amp-hour batteries and a DeWalt Tough system to keep all your shiny new tools in. We've already had over 140 winners and sent out over £35,000 worth of tools to those winners. And you could be next. One of you's going to get the call. Someone's got to win it. Tickets are just £1. Head to the link in the description. You could be the one getting that call from me for this massive DeWalt kit.
A route round the pipe. Been living off that for some years. There we go. She's out. Right, clay to plastic coupler. Pop that on the clay. And then just going to tighten that up. So I'm eyeing up the inspection chamber base now. I can get it in my coupler and I can get the run to the next inspection chamber, and I've got enough movement there to level it up when we get some pea shingle in. And I did say blood, sweat and tears on this project. I'm not going to show you my finger because YouTube probably has some policy against gruesomeness. So that is roughly in on a 45. You can have a 45 on an inspection chamber base, but nowhere else in the run. We've now measured between this inspection chamber and that inspection chamber, making sure we go right into the socket on the inspection chamber, and then we're going to cut a piece of pipe to fit between the two. I've got a Metex chamfer tool. These are perfect because you don't want this square edge going into that socket. It'll A, make it very difficult, and B, it knackers out seals. So I've got the chamfer tool. I'll put a link to all these handy tools in the description. I'm going to pop that on there and chamfer the end. Now I've got a Metex pipe stand. Is that what it's called, Aaron? It says it on it.
Pipe grip.
Pipe grip. 3/490, that's the length we want. And now we can just cut it. Whoa, that's fairly square. Chamfer that end as well. Bit of pipe lube on there. And that saves you knackering the seals on the fittings.
And with a little bit of to me to you, we slide the pipe in the sockets on each inspection chamber and position it in the trench.
First one's in between that inspection chamber and that inspection chamber. Aaron's now cutting the next one to go from the first inspection chamber to the house where the soil stack exits. And then we can get the pea shingle in and start to level the bases up.
Right, so what we're doing here is we're just putting a gully in for the kitchen sink, because new kitchen sink is going to be around here. So we just looked at the drawings, worked out where the centre of the window is, and then we're just going to run this straight into that manhole there. So it's all accessible and runnable.
Now I'm barrowing in a load of pea shingle. We're going to fill these halfway up the pipe and round the inspection chambers, and because it fills really well, it'll allow us to level the inspection chambers perfectly, and it allows for a little bit of movement. Now the reason we half fill it and we don't go all the way over the pipe or the joints is so that the building inspector can come out and he can have a look and check that he's happy with it all. So I'll do the talking for Aaron because he's working, and what he's doing now is just giving that base a shake, and you can see he's leveling it. The pea is falling under the base and he's able to level that both ways just to check that it's perfect. We also need to make sure we've got the correct fall on our foul drainage to make sure that solids are carried away and that we don't get any blockages. If you've got too much fall, the water can leave solids behind. If you don't have enough, then of course that water and solids that are in that water can't drain away. And for this, we've got a Metex pipe fall. It's a special leveling tool that you can pop onto the pipe and it'll tell you exactly when you've got the right fall. In our case, we want a minimum of a 1 in 80 fall. So we can just pop that on there and check we've got the correct fall. If any of you keen-eyed viewers see this cable, don't worry, it was isolated months ago. I knew it was there, we cut straight through it, and that's the water I hit on the digger when the microphone wasn't working. Again, that is isolated, not a worry. But you can see we've got that P halfway up all the pipes, so all the joints are visible to the building inspector. So once our bases are level, our inspection chamber bases, you got these are riser seals and they go on the risers. Now these round things, risers, what they do do is they sit on top of the base, and you can use multiple ones to bring the height of the inspection chamber lid, this thing here, up to your desired level. They can be cut as well if you need to, but we actually don't need to. 2 is perfect. So I've got the ring on there on the first one. Time to get the old lube out again. Whip a bit of that on the seal, because otherwise it's going to be really hard to get that seal in there. And then we can get that onto the inspection chamber. So we'll pop that on there, and then what I'll do is just use a bit of body weight, and we'll feel that pop in. Second one on, bit of body weight, there you go. She's on, and now I'll just show you so you understand. Eventually these lids will get screwed on, but we've gone for square lids. Tip, makes it easier to do your patio later. And they're going to sit somewhere there, of course, but they're going to come back off for now so we can do a bit of testing. So we just flushed the toilet. Is it good?
All good.
All good. Let's have a look. And then this one, look at that, all flowing nicely. I'll pop the lids on temporarily and they're ready for the inspector. It's getting dull, it's getting late, it's 7 in the evening. I'll pick up the camera in the morning. As promised in episode 1, I said I'd keep you up to date with costs. Now all the drainage, brick and block work, sand, pea shingle, everything you've seen in this episode, including these 8 soak away crates that we're going to install in the next episode, all of that came to £1,650. Now, of course, you've got, if you're doing this yourself, you've got digger hire and things like that on top. I'm very lucky, Speedy sponsor this episode, and they've provided the digger and the dumper, which are awesome, by the way, for this episode. So I'm very lucky there. Bear in mind, if you guys take something like this on, you have got those costs. Now, I think at the moment, we've spent around £2,000 to get up to damp and to get all of our drainage in. So it's not too bad. £2,000 versus double that if you were paying for the labour. So there is plenty of cost saved. So I'm really pleased with that. In the next episode, we're going to dig a massive soak away for all of that surface water that comes from the house roof. We're going to dig it in the middle of the lawn. It's going to be a really good episode, and we're going to do our oversight, meaning our floor build up. So it's going to get really good in the next one. Check out episode 1 if you haven't seen it already. And if you want to see another cool build, check out this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.